Well, we took a week off and now we're back.
It's funny. Impromptu holidays, eh?
It's what happens, I guess. I was thinking, I was hoping, because I know yesterday we had planned on talking yesterday. I wake up and I look at my phone and I see that you messaged me the night before, like 10:30 or something. And I was out by then. And it said, "Hey, can we do Sunday?" And I was like, "Yeah, we can do Sunday." So then I'm in the computer room, which I showed you a picture of. I'm in this room and I'm looking at my phone. So I message you and I don't hear back. So I email you and tell you, "Okay, let's do this tomorrow." And I don't hear back. So my kids start walking in because the door is open. They're like, "Dad, when are you going to podcast?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know if I'm podcasting or not. I'm waiting for my buddy to respond." And you've been, I got to say, you've not been good with the responses.
No,
in my opinion. Because I have an expectation. I guess I message you and I expect to hear back ASAP. And that's not how you're living your life, which is fine. But I was just sitting here literally in the dark. I'm like, I'm waiting. Is he going to respond, or is it good enough for me to say, yeah, Sunday's good, and then move on with my life? So 10 minutes in here, my kids are like, "What are you doing?" Because they see the setup. The door gets closed. I get started. Long story short, I walk away and then I hear from you, I don't know, 2 hours later or something. And this is my favorite. Okay, so you make me laugh. So on the one end, I'm like, "Where is he?" On the other end, I'm laughing out loud. When I'll text you something and then I get that automatic response. "I'm driving right now. I will, if this is urgent, do this. If it's not urgent, I'll get back to you later."
Nobody's ever done the urgent. No one's ever done an urgent thing to push it through.
That's because it's not urgent.
Oh, okay. You don't want to, you don't want to go DEFCON anything on that, right? Just in case.
I don't want to be that guy. You're driving in your car. I picture your wife's beside you. Your kids are in the back. You guys are going somewhere. You're focused on your driving. And then your phone does something to tell you it's urgent. And your wife picks it up. She's like, "It's Roland. Oh, he wants to know if you're podcasting today."
That's funny.
That's not urgent. Urgent is me driving to your neck of the woods to visit you, and I blow a tire. And I need to tell you, "I'm not coming, dude. I'm stuck on the highway." Like, that's urgent. But are we going to cast today? Not urgent.
Gotcha. It's the whole responding to text thing is a thing that I'm working on. Got to be honest. Yeah. It's it's funny. Part of it is that, and I've been called on that before. There's something about the texts. I don't have the trigger with texts. If someone were to phone me, I'm picking up. If someone were to show up in my space, I'm spending the time. I don't have the same social trigger with anything on socials. Text, Twitter, Facebook, Insta. Like it doesn't initiate a response mode in me as automatically as those other modes, anything that's sort of face to face. And I don't know why it's never put its hooks into me. It just hasn't sort of drilled down into my system of communication. So this is something that I am working on to respond back quickly. It is funny. I'm getting a lot of, so here's, I'm commuting now. I actually have a commute that's considerably longer than I've had in the past. I get a lot of messages when I'm commuting. It's quite remarkable. And I don't know if I would have been paying that much attention to this before, but I get a thing on my side that says, that it sent a message. It shows on iMessage or whatever that it sent out a message to someone that I'm driving right now. I'll get back in touch with you. And I've never really been aware of that, because I think that I'm slowly shifting to when I am driving or in motion there in the car, like because the prompts don't come through anymore, I've forgotten even that part of the flow. So there's two layers to it. I don't have the hooks in me to sort of automatically respond on any social. I also have notifications, a lot of notifications turned off on my phone. So I'm not bound to it in a way that it's that anxiety kind of a response, like checking over to my phone just thing. Plus my behaviors are bad. Like I'll leave my phone in my coat pocket during the day. Like I don't always carry it with me in the school. I'll grab it if I'm walking with my students. And that has to do with the community class that I'm working in. It's better for me to have some sort of a communication because I don't always have a walkie-talkie. But often I find I'm making this more complex than it is. I find that my mobile phone, though I enjoy using it and I do carry it with me, I don't pay attention to it as intensely as I've noticed other people do. And for better or for worse, it results in stuff like yesterday. Because at the heart of it, here's the discommunication, let's say there. Yesterday morning was so as we were coming into the Friday night into yesterday morning, so you said that you crashed out. On my end, I'm doing message in a bottle. So I'm just sending out the message, can Sunday be better? What was fueling that, so I didn't provide all the information to you. What was fueling that is that, so my son has basketball. So son and daughter have things kind of overlapping on Saturdays. So coordinating yesterday was tricky because we had to get our vehicles in for the tire flips as well. So winter's on, and we had set those appointments up a while ago. So it was kind of critical that we made those appointments happen. Now, coordinating a day with kids doing activities at 2 different sides of the town. I'm involved in one of the activities. I help out with my son's basketball. And then getting the cars back, there's a little bit of there's a dance there, right? So you're trying to figure out how to sort of keep everybody mobile and have all your appointments end to end and always have some sort of transportation. So that was what was happening in the background. And I wasn't confident that that wouldn't back up into our time talking in the morning. Now that's context that I didn't share, but I find this moment fascinating. And side note, I love that you called me out on it. I love, because on one hand I have an excuse, but on the other hand, I have a bad form of communication. And if I were just to blow this up for a moment, I think this is something that can happen frequently when we use digital communication tools. I'll bring it back down to the ground. I could have shared a lot more of that. I actually did have one moment, and I've done this. I was just going to phone you. I was just going to phone you and say, here's what's playing out. And I should have, because I think that I've sort of pierced that bubble with you and I, like just to phone. And there's always a weird moment. I have to say, there's always a weird moment when I think I'm going to call you because of how we're predominantly digital in our relationship. And I don't know how you are in general. Do you ever get sort of like weirded a little bit when you're in a text message and then they sort of phone you direct? Because I've had people say that, like, hey, we were just texting, what's going on? My colleague from before, Pam, I would do that sometimes. And there would be moments where it's like the code switching took a second. You could hear it, like, wait, I thought we were just going to do this thing on text, and now we have to sort of talk with one another. Suffice it to say that yesterday did not get any better with the planning. It was a mess. The mechanics. I'm even hesitant. So here's the abbreviated version. We dropped the car off at 7 a.m. because that's the best time to drop it off. Put the keys in the slot. We start running our day. At some point, so I'm running my day in the morning. You're sitting by the microphone. Apologies, because I'm getting back to the house. We're getting the kids off to sort of different things. We're getting dropped off. So then I'm locked into basketball mode until 10 a.m. So there's that whole gap of, I'm not findable. I phoned the mechanic at noon and a half, 12:30. Car's not even into the actual garage yet. They haven't started it. They're asking to maybe reschedule it. I'm saying, no, we're not going to reschedule this. My spouse gets on the line. She's even more on fire. No, we're not going to reschedule this, because hers was scheduled to go in at 2:00. So one in at 10, 4 hours should be enough. Tire flip, oil change, 4 hours should be enough. They haven't even started it at 12:30. So they're saying you have to reschedule both. We're really behind. So just to anybody that's tried to sort of work through these things can already sort of figure that's not a great place to be. What it came down to is we had to reschedule hers. So all of a sudden, I don't even know when I reached back out to you to say, sure. I actually, now as I'm thinking, I don't even think I confirmed for today, did I? Honestly, did I? I'm going to check my, I don't even think I said, yeah, 7:30 is good.
I don't think you said anything. I think we may have said other things, but I don't think you actually said, yeah, Sunday's good. Maybe you did. I don't know.
I did not. We started talking about something else. It's exactly the time frame. I'm looking at my feed right here. You sort of shared what you had going on in your day. You were busy. And then your last thing is just question, 7:30 a.m. question mark. And then later on that day, oh, it's so bad. I did that so bad. Such a bad texter. It's 2.5 hours later. 2.5 hours later, we're talking again. And we're talking about something else altogether. Like the other conversation, like the other hurt didn't even happen. I apologize. I should have texted back on that.
No, you know what? Here's the thing. I wanna say some things if you're done.
Yeah, I believe I am. I'm gonna take a sip.
Okay. Number one, I dislike using the phone. I've never been a phone guy. I don't like the phone. So when I could start texting people, it's like my world opened up because a phone call for me there's a commitment there that I don't want to make. So if I'm at the rink, which I was last night, and I text you a message and then you text me back, I can just pick it up and look at it when the play is over. So the ref blows the whistle, pull out the phone, take a look, respond, plays on again, put the phone away. If you call me, I'm not saying plays on and putting the phone down. And, oh, ref blew the whistle, I can talk again. That's not legit in a phone conversation. It's not appropriate. The person on the other line is sitting there waiting. They can't be doing whatever because they're on the phone. So when you call me, it freaks me out every time. But I mean, whatever. You're my friend. You should see how I get when, well, I'll explain the text thing in a minute, where I just lost it on a friend once because of what he did. He probably thought I was crazy, but then like you and I were talking about on the on-ramp, it's okay. It's okay. People can think I'm crazy. I need to live my life. So the second thing, so there's the phone thing. I'm not a phone guy. The second thing is I didn't think that I called you out when I said you don't text back. I think now, and then now I kind of feel bad that you told me your whole story. Like it sounds like you were in the middle of stuff, and I don't need an explanation. I appreciate that you laid out what was going on, and I get it. I try not to do that. Like when texts get away on me, it's rare. So when they do, that's what I would call it with you. The texts get away on you because it's not your thing. When they get away on me, people are always like, what happened to you? Did you fall in a hole? Did you leave your phone somewhere? Like what happened? Anyway, so one time last year, or maybe the year before, my friend texted a bunch of us, like in a group text, and I freaked out. I'll tell you why I freaked out. I don't give my cell phone number to people. If I give you my cell phone number, it means that I either consider you a close friend, or I have to give it to you by law, or else you're not going to give me what I need. So I have to give it to you. So friend, law, or something to do with my kids that I have to be contacted if something happens to them. I don't give my phone number out to people. I know some people do, like this friend, he texts everybody. So I'll be talking to him and I'll be like, who are you texting? He's like, so-and-so. I'm like, you trust them enough to give them your cell number? He's like, yeah, it's no big deal. I'm not like that. I'm not giving out that number. There's a text from him, and there's several other people in it, and he's basically asking us, okay, are we going to go do this tomorrow? I start a new text with him right back. I'm like, get me out of there, because now these people have my number, and now they could text me or call me whenever they want, and that's not good for me. I don't like it. I don't feel comfortable with it. Take what you will from the way I'm reacting to this, but this is big time for me. So he wrote back. He said, I'm really sorry. I didn't know. Like, I didn't know. And I'm like, yeah, of course you wouldn't know, because I don't walk around telling people that. I don't say, hi, my name's Roland. I'm not giving you my cell phone number and then give them my history of why or whatever, my context. So I told him I'd appreciate it if you didn't do that. And there were particular people that were part of this group that I don't want them having my number. And now they have my number. So what do I do if they call me or whatever? That caused me some stress and anxiety, but it's all good because it never happened again. And now when it happens, because I have some friends, old friends like in Ottawa and stuff, they'll do that. They'll send out a group thing. I just don't respond to it. So then nobody knows who I am and what my number is, because they can't connect the two. That's a thing for me. I don't know. So the phone is a problem. I don't like the phone. And I didn't think I called you out, but it's good for me to know. It's good for me to know to not invest the time. So if I write you a really long text, now I know that there's a good chance you may not respond. It's not because you don't want to respond. It's because you're living your life and it's not a priority. And that I get that. If it's urgent, I'll just either call you or I'll say in the text, this is urgent. Get back to me before 9 if you can. I have a friend, really good guy. He hates texting as well. I will sometimes text him, and I've told him at the beginning of all this, I've told him I don't expect to hear back from you unless it's, are we meeting at 8 p.m. at the coffee shop? That I need to know, because if you don't respond to me on that one, I'm not going. So you might sit there drinking your coffee wondering where I am, and that's too bad for you, because there are some times that it is important for me to get a response. But for the most part, I know he doesn't prefer it. He doesn't like it. So I will text him, but I know I'm not getting a response. He was away for 10 days on business. He's a university professor. And in the middle of his 10 days, I sent him a Twitter direct message. I said, hey, hope your trip's going well. Hit me up when you get back. And then he texted me yesterday, said he was back. So then I texted him a long message, and he didn't respond. And that's cool, because he knows that I know that I don't need to hear from him, because that's not his style. That's not how he operates. And I'm not calling him because that's not how I operate. So it's interesting when you have to find that common intersection. The dentist's office, the doctor's office, don't call me. I don't want to talk to you. Send me the email that says you're due for an appointment. Click on this button to confirm, or call us to tell us when you want to come in. I just do it over email I know the receptionist now, so I just do it over email. I don't want to talk. And that's just who I am, and it's okay. It's okay to be me. Now I'm gonna open up the door for you to retort if you need to. And then whatever, I would love to talk about taking risks, if that's okay with you.
Yeah. Well, I think what you've set up is a good segue into taking risks. I think that's part of what's fueling this moment. Flat out. I don't want you to change your behavior as far as length of text. And I'll say flat out, I've never had a moment where I've looked at the text and thought, that's not a priority to me. So that's not what's firing off in my brain. It really, I think what you got me wondering about is that, me in real time versus me in digital time. And I think that there's something about the way that I use my digital communication that's very similar to how I use my face to face. And I'll say in this case, like, this is face to face. Every once in a while in face to face, which is this, this time that you and I spend, I mess up. Like, I can't make it work. I just can't make it work. But when I'm there, when I get to it and I have it scheduled and I'm hooked and I'm in the moment, you've got 100% of me. Sometimes more than that. Some people have said, Clough, you're just too much. You're more than 100%. I don't need that much of you when I'm sort of face to face with you. It's funny, but the moments in between when I'm not captured or scheduled or connected, I'm squirrely. Like, I'm hard to sort of pin down sometimes. And this has always been something about me just in general, like somewhere between my mind and my body, they wander a lot, to the point where, my spouse has said she really appreciates it when I whistle when we're out, which is something I do frequently. She said, I get a little bit stressed when we're out in a public place, like shopping, and I don't hear the whistling anymore. She's like, oh, he's left the building. He's wandered too far, like a bell on a cat. But like a bell on the cat, if the cat is no longer in that space or in the house, you're not going to hear the bell anymore. And I find like that's how I am sometimes in my communication, that it's like these almost like poles of communication where I'm intensely there when you get me and then kind of gone. But I never ever want, and I know I can be, I don't want anyone to change their behavior in reaching out to me. I get that if I don't reach back, that pisses people off. Then it's like, well, I'm not going to reach out to them as much, or I'm going to sort of like shape this a little bit. But definitely, between yours and my communication, I love this because this is sort of this is a good, healthy friend type communication to have. We can extend this and make this about teaching and colleagues, and we can sort of extend it into the whole decoded framework and say, what does this look like into school and, managing with the students and all that. But this kind of moment where you're looking at how we communicate, and can the digital and face-to-face be similar, I think is a really fascinating conversation. And where I started with this, when you're talking about the risk, there was a point, the first time that I phoned you directly, I felt risk. I felt a very specific sense of risk, not because of anything that would be your agenda in using technology, but because I felt like I was going into a space in our relationship that neither one of us had really done. I think that I had met you, 3 times, 4 times face to face before I even phoned you. But I have a very distinct memory. I can't pin it to a date, but that idea, I'm just going to call the guy. I felt the compulsion that I wanted to talk to you. And, I really enjoyed, dude, I loved talking directly to you on the phone, but I had this sense like I had to kind of bolster myself. Okay, now I'm going to phone him. I'm going to phone him. Clough, you're going to phone him. And funny enough, I think the first time I called you, I was actually on the road. Like, I wasn't home landed. I was in motion somewhere. It was like the cat with the bell meowing somewhere out in the neighborhood. I was shouting you out from somewhere. So, but I think there is risk there. And where I'll leave it is just the whole idea of, I think it's a good risk to take. You can still choose whether or not you want to answer. And if you don't one time, I get it. You're not there. You're not in that place where you're going to pick up the phone. And, but I probably won't change my behavior. If I feel compelled to phone. I take that part and parcel of, if you chose to share your number with me, which we've exchanged phone numbers, then part of that communication line includes a phone call. You can opt out. I always think back to my dad and his first mobile phone, and he was, I decided to call him one day, and he picks up the phone, and I've shared this, I think, at least once to you, but it's a fascinating story to me. He in a sort of like, in a very sort of stern, fatherly whisper, I'm in a meeting right now. Why would you call me? And I pause for a moment and I say, you know, if you don't want to receive calls, Dad, turn your insert swear word phone off. And then I hung up on him. And it's a funny thing. I'm like, the behaviors, like the for someone to calling someone is not calling someone out. Yet my dad totally felt that, because part of it is that he wasn't managing his tech on the inside. And I can remember laughing about him afterwards. He goes, yeah, I realized that. I was kind of being ridiculous. My phone was on. I hadn't put it on vibrate. I was carrying it with me. He goes, what did I think was going to happen? He just didn't think anyone, I think he had 3 people that had his number. So it's a low chance that someone's going to phone him. Risk. That's a good risk. All you listeners out there, phone a text friend. See what happens. I'm throwing down homework in the middle of the cast. Go ahead, man.
You and your homework kills me.
It can be done during class time. There we go. It's not necessarily homework. It can be done before we leave the cast.
So I want to throw something down,
okay,
and see how you respond to this. And I don't know what we're gonna do with it, but it'd be cool. So I'm still saying that I don't like it. I'm working on that too. There's a lot that I'm working on. There's so much. It's kind of fun sometimes. You're like, oh, I'm done this. Let me work on that. And sometimes it's like, oh, I have more work to do. But anyway, so I'm on Twitter. I'm scrolling, and I see a tweet from one of my colleagues, a teacher I worked with for a couple of years. She's now an instructional coach, and she had written a blog post about her work, like what she's doing now, and I guess her reflection on her work and how she's feeling. And at the end, there was a quote, and it was about, I quoted her. I took a quote from her post, and I can't find it at the moment, so you have to excuse me. But basically, you know, she was talking about, she doesn't know if she's making a positive difference, a positive impact on the students and the teachers she's working with. And instantly, I felt if I'm impacted by her tweets alone, then surely the teachers and the students she's working with must feel some kind of positive impact from actually working with her in a classroom. And then I had to, so then I think I tweeted out about it. I hate it when I can't find the tweets I'm looking for, but I guess what I'll do is I'll just make my computer full screen while I talk. The reason why I like to have a picture of us is so that I can hit the mute button right away, because I hate it when you talk and my stuff's coming through. I hate that. But anyway, I took a step back and I started reflecting on that. And then things started to come to mind, like her and I have a good rapport. I actually worked with her for 2 years. I know that when she had something to share, I should listen, because she tended to share really awesome things, and she was a supportive colleague. So if you wanted to enter into the concept that she was discussing, she was more than happy to work with you. Like, she was a collaborative person, creative person, critical thinker. The 6 C's, that's what she is, in my opinion. And so I was thinking, why does she feel like this? And then I thought, it's funny. It's okay for me to feel like that. It's okay for me to feel like I'm not making a difference in my classroom, or I'm not having a positive impact on the people around me. But it's not okay for her to think that, or for her to feel that. So I had to take some time to think about that and why I think that way. Why is it okay for me, but it's not okay for others in my mind? And then I started making connections. I started making connections to something that I had recently done at school, and then how her blog post, along with a comment from 2 other people on Twitter, got me to actually write my own post about something that I was feeling at work and how it played itself out as well. So I'll put it out for you. I tweet about her thing. Some people jump on it, and then somebody else responded to a tweet from another one of our colleagues saying, hey, check out a blog post that was written. And then that person responded and said, thanks for sharing. It's all about the professional learning network. My learning, my engaging in my learning and my reflection of my learning was partly due to you and Roland, and how you guys, we all work so well together in trying to figure out this concept that we're talking about. And I thought to myself, I have a blog. I've not blogged in a while. It's time for me to say something. I feel like I need to say something. And so I wrote a short blog post about 3D printing and encouraging the teachers around me at my new school to jump on board, to take a risk, and to start using the technology that I currently have in my room for their student learning. And I was feeling a little low because I sent out an email to all the teachers at the school and I said, listen, I have this machine in my room. I don't want to be the only one using it. I don't want my students to be the only ones to benefit from the amazing things that can happen. So if you have any interest, seek me out, respond to the email, come to my room, grab me like while I'm walking up the stairs to get to class, whatever. Tell me you're interested so I can put something together. We can meet, we can talk. Crickets. I hear nothing. Nobody says anything to me. And then I start thinking, great, nobody's interested. Then I realize we're all writing progress reports. If I'm stressed over my reports, and while I juggle the 8,000 other things that have to get done, then surely they're probably feeling this way. At least 75% of them are probably feeling like me or somewhere like that. So I let it go. And then all of a sudden, one of the grade 6 teachers comes up to me and says, hey, I've got some questions for you. And we just start talking about 3D printing. And I can tell he's hesitant, right? He's like, what is this sorcery? I don't know if I should get involved or not get involved. And I tell him, listen, you got to do what's right for you. You got to jump in where you feel good. And I'm here to help you. So if you decide just doing, A is good enough for you, great. If you decide you want to do A, B, and C, let's do it. So he tells me his idea and I give him my feedback based on my experience with the tech. And next thing you know, he's put together this wicked assignment and his kids are knocking at my door and they want to print their stuff. And it's awesome. The kids now see some value in it. The teacher is amazed at the experience that his students are going through right now, designing their keychain, the math that's involved, the design process, the iteration that's involved, like the failure and the success. There's a lot of good things that are happening there. And he sees it now. And he's totally excited about it. And he looks forward to the successes and the failures, because from the failure, you learn a lot with 3D printing, because you have something tangible in your hand. And if it doesn't look the way that you had envisioned it, then something went wrong and you need to figure that out. So there's a lot of problem solving. There's a lot of thinking about design. There's a lot of also, this was the coolest thing. There was also a lot of thinking how the machine works. So the one student, he had an issue with his print because of the way that the machine actually creates your vision, the way it prints your product. If you flip your design in a different way, then the printer can deal with it better. Long story short, lots of good things came from that. So I put my post out there and I basically thanked the 3 people that got me there. But I'm still stuck on this one educator that's feeling the difference thing, which I don't know her from that perspective. I know her as a cheerleader for people who want to try new things. And so when I read that, and maybe I'm interpreting it completely wrong, but I'm giving you what I got from it. Anyway, I found her post. It's called Rewriting the Rules, Trailblazing. And then I wrote that she reflects on her new journey as an instructional coach. Quote, at this point, I don't feel as though I'm having a great impact on teacher or student learning, but only time will tell. Close quote. And then I said that her tweets usually get me reflecting on my practice, which in turn benefit my students. Now, what I leave out, right, because I pick and choose what I want to talk about and what I want to reflect on, what I leave out is she basically says in her blog post, I don't know, like I've entered into, I'm on a path that I've never been on before, and the path hasn't even been created. So I'm going to trailblaze it. I'm just going to make the path. That's kind of how it ends, and which is totally her, in my opinion, from what I know of her. But the fact that she even said that she didn't feel as though she was making a positive impact, that hit me in a place that got me thinking, that got me reflecting. And I guess the most powerful part of all of this is, why do I think it's okay for me to be down on myself and my impact, but it's not okay for me to see others share that part of themselves? Like, I mean, it's totally okay for her to say it, but I'm like, I'm shocked, because that's not what I know of her. I'm shocked and I'm dismayed that she's feeling like this. I've obviously given this more time than it probably deserves in terms of my thought process, and I wanted to share it with you. So now that it's shared on the podcast, and I would love to hear your thoughts about it, I'm going to let it go, because now I've shared it. I don't need to hold on to it anymore. But something good's come from it, because I was able to tell her that just her tweets alone motivate me. Just her tweets alone, 140 characters or whatever it is now, get me pumped to try something new with my students, to extend myself a little bit and to remember it's okay. I'm not supposed to be perfect at it, because part of becoming perfect, which never happens, but part of that process means starting in a place where you might feel uncomfortable.
So the front end of this, you were talking about risk. Clarify your risk perspective in this. What's the gem here about risk that you sort of you're still kind of fascinated with?
The fact that you're going to engage by taking that risk and not feeling good about the content that you're going to deal with or the experience you're going to enter into. There is a feeling of discomfort. There is a feeling of time investment and energy investment, and you're scared. You're scared to invest the time that it might take and the energy that it might take to enter into something that you're not even comfortable with. And so the gem is that when you feel that way, and the people around you who are there to support you, you trust, then those are both good signs that you're about to enter into something that's probably going to help you become better at whatever it is that you're doing. That's the gem. For me, like, I can make a complete connection, the whole numeracy thing, starting in a new school, not feeling confident about the way I teach math and deal with numeracy in this new way that it's being taught. I felt very uncomfortable even saying that to an administrator, but I knew that I had to put it out there, number one. Number two, when I finally got to this school and was told, okay, the numeracy coach is coming in and they're working with you first, I was like, uh-oh, there's that feeling again. But I had that funny feeling, and the coach that I was working with, I know and trust. So I knew, okay, this is going to be good. Something good's going to happen here, because I don't feel good about this, because I know It's not a comfort level for me, but the person that's going to be supporting me, I'm willing to give her the time and my energy to learn and to become better. There's the gem.
I would love to, if you could share the link, if you can find it, or share the individual, and so I can check out the feed. I'm always where my brain went on this, and where my brain went on this was sometimes when I see those types of posts, or I see a post where an instructor is kind of wearing a little bit of the exasperation on the sleeve, and there's some topics that will do that. I think having, connecting to student, connecting, your actions as an educator, and maybe binding them to student outcome. I think that there's a frame there that's destined to reveal frustration on one side or the other of the relationship, because it almost in some ways, on the front end for me, I think to myself, this is oversimplifying this, that somehow teaching is always one-to-one and it's transactional. So if I do this, then this may happen. And I think even emotional connectivity and job satisfaction can kind of get swept up in this philosophy too, that the way that I know I'm doing a good job is because when I do this thing on X, I see a reaction on Y, and it's measurable, and I can account for it, and I can speak to it, and I can also promote it, replicate it, post it, curate. Like there's a whole line of if then circumstances and outcomes that I don't see my job that way. I don't first and foremost look at it through that lens. So I'm always fascinated when in this particular conversation, I've asked consultants before, and I've asked principals this as well, as in, how has your relationship with the classroom changed now that you're no longer standing in it for as many hours as you do? And it's usually through that conversation, I get some really great observations about that bigger, broader picture of EDU that you don't necessarily get when you're in front of the kids 5-6 hours a day and having the direct connection to that XY one-to-one relationship. I think that it's sometimes dangerous, the amount of time that this particular individual has been in their job, notwithstanding, I think it's dangerous to focus to invest too much in the immediacy of creating change when you are learning about the actual context you're in, or trying to figure out what tools you need, or even sort of admitting to yourself, I don't even know what tools I need to start doing the job that I've been hired to do right now. There's a whole long on-ramp there that I would be fascinated to hear, to read the post so that I could get a better shape of it. But I have witnessed those conversations before where someone says, I'm 10 years into teaching and I don't know if I'm making a difference anymore, or I'm in my first 2 months of teaching and I feel like I'm not making it to the kids. I think this is on one hand, almost any instructor could write this post. I really do believe that any educator that's sort of wanting to improve and wanting to extend and connect could write a post like that. But I read it cautiously, because I sort of really, I avoid falling on either side of the, this individual needs support, or this individual I totally agree with them. Because sometimes I've read posts like that where I think, yeah, you know what, you're off track. The things that, and I, it's not like I'm posting that back to the individual, say, yeah, I'm not putting them on blast, but I think to myself, yeah, those decisions, I've made those mistakes too. I agree. I agree with your sort of state of mind right now. And I'm both sympathetic and empathetic to where you're at. That's where my brain went at first when I was thinking about this. And then I sort of get into this other space where, looking at it from a risk point of view, and really, I guess if I were to if I were to celebrate the moment, the openly sharing in socials or even at staff meetings, that an individual is not where they would expect they would be in their process, and that they feel like they're not where the system expects them to be, I think is a brave declaration unto itself, especially if you remain open to, whether you ask directly or not, you're open to say, can anyone provide me some feedback here? You know, and I do believe that if you dare to put a post, like my dad, he dared to buy a cell phone, and I actually used it to communicate with him. So his discomfort, you know, why am I calling him in the middle of a meeting that he's at, is almost irrelevant to the point, is that he stepped into a space where he was prepared to receive communication somehow. And I think when educators dare to post something out, the default is someone's going to reach back. Someone's going to communicate. Even if someone doesn't immediately, you're agreeing to that relationship. And I think if you can receive something, if you can take something from those conversations, and I credit you, do this very well. I've watched your behaviors on socials, and I know I don't do what you do. You reach back out and you're supportive. You have clear suggestions if that's what the person's looking for, but you engage in a way that I think people that post can become comfortable with the internet reaching back out to them. So where do I end on this one? The risk would be that you're able to you're simultaneously releasing and engaging in any conversation that comes back to you that you feel is professionally warranted. I want to read the post. I need to get some more shape so I can feel like I got rubber on the road.
I sent it to you.
Cool, man.
I sent it to you, and it's not hard to understand. It's an easy read, and it's somebody's their reflection on what they do, right, and how they're feeling about it. And I enjoyed the honesty, and there's a rawness to it for me. Knowing this person, and like I said, having a good professional rapport with this person and getting them. I understand. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And for me, it just helps. It just helps make a stronger connection. And sometimes it's funny because I say that, and some people that hang with me might say, well, Roland's not like that at all. But then another half of my friends would say he's totally like that. So even within my groups, I pick and choose where I'm going to show my whole self and where I'm not going to show my whole self. And in some blog posts or some podcasts, I will provide information that I will disclose things that I wouldn't disclose if I was face to face with a particular person. But here it is out there. It's like it's archived, right? It's all out on the net. On Halloween, I felt like it was time for me to do another quick decoded video, and I called it Halloween Update or something like that. I don't know if you got a chance to see it, but I felt like I had some things I wanted to say. I felt like you and I have done a good job of recording our journey. Mine was, well, both of ours starting in new places. And I think it was cool the way we were just kind of vlogging what we were doing and how we were proceeding. And I felt it was time. I needed to say something. And the things I talked about were Halloween and my experience at my new school with Halloween, and how it was so very different and foreign than anything I had experienced to this day in my entire life. Like, forget about the teaching profession, being a teacher, but just think about like meeting people who don't celebrate Halloween and who are like fearful of it and don't believe in it and see it as a negative thing. I've never really had that. And then, progress reports had just been handed in, and this coming week we have interviews. So that's a big stage in the school year, and it comes up really fast and really early. And then a chat that I've been participating in on Tuesday nights. It's the pro-driven chat. And I've just found it to be so like so recharging and refreshing for me. I guess the topics that I've been bumping into have been ones that have felt that I could connect to and really wanted to connect to. I just felt like talking about that stuff. And so I think it's less than 2 minutes for sure. I just put it out there and it's good to go. And I just feel it's neat, eh? When you start to do things and you do them often, when you don't do them, you start to feel that itch. You start to feel like it's time. When we missed our podcast last week, there was no choice. It had to be missed. We had things to do. But then I was really looking forward to this one because I didn't have a chance to do my weekly talk reflection that I would normally do in this way. And it was gone. It was missing. I even thought about just talking to myself, just recording my thoughts and listening to them to think about my thinking. Because I can do that when I'm, you see, in my busyness, which I even hate to say, but in my traveling to get my kids to where they need to be, I can listen to stuff because I've got my mobile device, I've got my headphones. It's easy for me to do those things. Yesterday, when I wrote the blog post that I posted last night, I wrote it at the rink on my phone. I wasn't talking to the dads or the moms, and there was a game in front of me that I was watching a little bit of before my son went out with his team. I just pulled out my phone and started. I just wrote a blog post. That was it. It was done. So when the mood strikes and I have that downtime period, I can do those things. I'm happy that the things that I do that keep me out of the house or busy are not things where I'm committed to someone in front of me for the entire time I'm out. It's just one of those things. You got to get the kids somewhere, then they have time to do what they need to do, and then you watch them do their thing, and then there's more time of them doing what they do, and then there's coming home. And in all of that, there are moments where I can pick and choose what I want to do with my time. And I'm really enjoying the decoded vlogging, and I hope to write more blog posts as time moves on.
I haven't been participating. I like them too. Yeah, I saw your video. I liked the analysis about seeing something so familiar through new eyes. I think that's been a big part. From where I sit, it seems to be a big part of kind of like the next step in you getting to know this school. One was the transition. Two was the seeing the students as sort of like a deeper connection to the students, sort of seeing them and seeing their stories as partially a part of your story. And now this third layer is really cool, where things that that you've synthesized as part of your story, you're seeing them represented differently through the student's eyes. So you're able to sort of see where the school culture and the student culture kind of bump up against each other. And that kind of, I think it's critical to pay attention to, because that's where student voice is. That's also where teacher voice is. And the cool thing is, I'll say, if it's great, it's great if it's student and teacher voice, and you can sort of find a table where those two voices can talk to each other. But what about just if it's kid and adult? You know what I mean? With different perspectives. Or what if it's just humans with different stories? If you can sort of ascend all the way to that, that level of the table where you can openly share. So it's interesting to me to listen to you sort of pull these layers off of your getting to know the new space, because you articulate it so well. As it is complex. It's not as simple as just, it's simple to accept the job at a new school in all its complexity. And we've talked about that before, dealing with transition and that. The aftercare of that decision, I think, is pretty cool. And I'm sure that somebody tracking those stories as they pop up, both your videos and your blog posts, will find some value in it, because those are the conversations that, you know, from where I sit, are equally, if not more important than the ones about, you know, progress reports and numeracy data and literacy initiatives. So cool for you for sharing that. You get any feedback yet on it? Anybody sort of, or too soon? Oh yeah?
No, I got a comment from Jared Borman. He's the individual who basically has written the book Professionally Driven. He's one of the brains behind the Pro Driven chat. You know, he wrote back and just said, thanks for the shout out, and they've enjoyed having me be part of the chat. Then I'm welcome back anytime. It's like for me to actually stop what I'm doing on a Tuesday night and to look and see what time the chat is, that's a big deal, right? I'm sure you, knowing me a little bit now, would understand that that's a big deal for me to take my time to see what's going on and how it's playing out. And I just, like I told you, it just worked. The topics have been really attractive to me. The people in the chat have been like really cool. You're responding to comments and throwing things out at me. That's the thing. Like, if there have been chats that I've been part of where nobody responds to you, or nobody puts anything out that really gets you going, and that sucks. Because then what's the point of being there? And I get that happens to people in different circumstances. For me, I'm not even committed anymore to a full chat. Like, I don't need to sit on my phone for an hour. I see a question, and if I like it, I answer it. And if I don't like it, or if I have nothing to offer, I either don't answer it, or I respond with, I have nothing to offer. I have no schema regarding what you're talking about. Or I'm really deficient in the area you're referring to. I'm going to read the answers, and then I'm going to see if I can connect it to anything I do in my work. So I think people miss the point. Sometimes with Twitter chats, they think that they have a fixed mindset of what it is and how to enter into it. And I just don't have that anymore. I just have, there's something happening here. There's a bunch of people participating. I'm hoping that I can see something, or someone's going to say something that's going to activate something for me, an entry point that I can jump into this. And the Pro Driven chat has been one where I feel like the reflection I'm going through at the time and after has been really beneficial. And these people have reached out, like they reach out and they say, thanks, is there anything we can do to support you? And that's big for me. So I just felt like I needed to say something about it. And I even feel weird saying something about it. It's almost like I'm trying to sell it. I'm not trying to sell it. I'm just telling people this worked for me. There's something that's good there. That's cool that it worked for me. It's cool that Jared took the time to make a comment on the video. I mean, I tagged him. I said, check this out. Your chats got me thinking enough that I'm willing to say something about it in, you know, my 1 minute reflection as I talk about my experience with Halloween and report cards. So, see, it's the stuff like this this is how I deal with my learning. This is how the sharing part of it is really scary for me, in that it's there now. People can see it. People can comment on it. But the flip side of that, the part that pushes the fear out of my thinking, is that it's an archive for me to go back and look at. And you know I'm big on this. There's content that's been created, and the content can benefit me now and it can benefit me later. And that's kind of the whole thing with this podcast too, in my mind, is that we're creating something that lives somewhere where other people can see it and other people can say whatever they want and do whatever they want with it. But at the end of the day, you and I can look back on what we've done, and we may have feelings of accomplishment because of it. and we have artifacts. And so if somebody says something about, taking risks, have we ever talked about it? I could connect them with this video or this podcast on iTunes and say, check it out and let me know what you think. I love that we can do that today. I can make a personal connection in that when I was a young child, my father had a video camera and he had the projector so that we would film it and then we would stick it on the projector and we'd watch it. And there were times over the years after my father passed away, when I would visit my mom's house, I would go looking for the reels and try to watch the video that was captured when we were children. And I've never been successful. And so in a way, I'm kind of making up for that by being able to capture some of my experiences now and being able to put them somewhere where I can find them easily. And it's like my kids, I'm capturing a lot of video of my son with his hockey experience, but it reminds me that I need to capture video of both of them being jerks or whatever in their day-to-day interactions at home, because I know where I can keep that stuff, where they'll be able to access it, unlike me not being able to get what my father was able to capture of me. So, I mean, if you dig deep enough, with me, you might find a deeper level of meaning or a connection that has me acting in a way now that I couldn't act, like I couldn't control before, that now I'm at the helm and I can do what I want with this. There's something cool for me about that, the digital world and the way things work.
Yeah, in my mind, I agree with that, capturing the memories, but also at the same time looking at it as thought fuel. I'm not doing I'm not getting as much as I would like to. I think I put a lot of pressure, I think, on myself to maintain that at some sort of a digital portfolio of family memories. I find if I go back to the where we started here about my trigger to sort of have my phone out to do something, I find myself fading away from it a little bit, and I'm not sure why. I've noticed it though. I've had moments where I've been at the basketball sessions with my son, and I thought to myself, oh, I should snap a picture of this, and I find that I'm getting distracted back into focus, as in I take the phone out and I'm like, no, I'm just going to watch, or I'm just going to go play. So it's kind of interesting. I should have mentioned on the front end, I gotta bust out for a family thing this morning.
I was right about to say we've gone over.
Yeah, I gotta
shut it down.
You're in 10 minutes from now. If you text me, you're gonna get the "I'm driving right now." Mark it as urgent.
Is it easy to do that? Because I think I should have that on my phone too.
Well, it's on the iPhone. It's the
It's an option, right? A driving option or something.
It's called there's like what is it? It's like the do not disturb thing, but it actually turns on the message automatically. It's somewhere in the settings. I wish I had but it is there, yeah. But for some reason it didn't work before, because I turned it on and I thought to myself, why isn't it sending out a text message that I'm driving right now? Like, that's what I actually thought it should do, that, saying, I've got your text, it's received, but I gotta stop driving. When we get off, so here's a teaser, Easter egg. When we get offline, I'm gonna share something with you, some new thinking that I have. Maybe it'll definitely spark some conversations between us this week.
Sounds good. If you respond to any of my texts.
Zing.
Okay, dude, have a great day.
You too, man.
And we'll talk soon.
For sure.
See ya.
Ciao.